Hi everybody, I'm Emma Burdett, the founder and CEO of Wild, Women in Leadership Deliver. We are the fastest growing, quickest growing women's network, trailblazing gender equality across the Middle East. So lots of people always ask me about why Wild, and I think it's really important to set the scene as to why I decided to create this extremely exciting business. So I have been in the region for 9 years and I've always worked in the corporate sector. I've been bullied, fired, harassed, left out of the boys club, and actually in 2006 I was thrown out of a client's office for being just a silly girl and what do women know about real estate. So I've made it my life's work, mission and complete pledge to ensure that no other young female goes through what I endured. So fast forward to my career in Dubai. In 2016, I set up a very small women's network of 4 women and a sheet of paper. The network grew to around 15, and I saw firsthand the power of women really coming together, sharing knowledge, expertise, and providing support along the way. So unfortunately, I lost my job and I took time out to really rebuild myself from the inside out. I actually had a rock bottom moment and suffered from a mental breakdown. So I really do understand the importance of, I think, leaning into the discomfort of really unpacking past trauma and really moving past limitations so that we can all go on to thrive. And I get interviewed quite a bit these days, but people always ask me, how did you do this? And actually I had a spiritual epiphany. So in my midst of a breakdown in Thailand, I actually went to Thailand for my very own version of Eat, Pray, Love. If you've seen the book or the film, read the book or seen the film, except there was lots of eating, lots of praying, and absolutely zero loving. In fact, there was a lot of self-sabotage and a lot of not loving myself through, what was a really difficult time. So I had had some spiritual healing in the UK, and the healer had said, look for the butterfly, it speaks of change and joy. And I, of course, thought, what a load of old rubbish. But it just so happened that as I stepped outside, there were butterflies everywhere, and I knew from that moment onwards my life was going to change. There was a blue butterfly that followed me all the way to the breakfast hall, which I actually have an original photo of. And I just remember thinking, oh my goodness, my life's going to change. I felt really aligned and connected. And then I picked up a random magazine, and it was a Marie Claire about gender equality, and it just said in bold, if you have a platform to be able to make a difference, then you should use it. So I thought, that's it, I'm going to go back to Dubai and I'm going to build a women's platform for me, by me, and that is the great thing about running your own business, is that you have creative freedom to do as you please. So I based Wild on my own values, and when I launched Wild in 2018, having written it from scratch, we had over 150 women come to our very first event. I'd never done a keynote talk. I was absolutely terrified, and it's quite funny now being a proper speaker, but that really was the start of the journey. But when I came to write the business plan for Wild, I looked at what are my top values. And really they are what underpin me as a person, but also what underpin Wild and our ethos. So they are authenticity, freedom, voice, expression, and of course gender equality under diversity. So I've shaped the whole business based on these principles. I mentor women to build out social impact projects. We were the first women's network to launch in Saudi Arabia last year. Our Wild Riyadh business is completely taking off, and Wild is really a movement that I am proud to pioneer. I think importantly, investing in ourselves and our own growth and development is absolutely crucial for all of us, not just women. And, I think women can be so reluctant to invest in ourselves and always put everyone else first, and I've worked with 4 coaches. I've worked with some of the best coaches in the world. They've helped me execute my vision and dreams when it comes to Wild. They've helped me through mindset work. And, I think what is inherent of this region with the Middle East, which I see all the time, is women striving for more and more academia. And I'm not, discounting or discrediting the value of, masters or MBAs or PhDs. But what are we doing about our own growth and development? What are we doing about our beliefs, the wreckage of our past, trauma, which we've all been through in some guise, or another? And we can have all of this academia, but for me, it's about the inner hustle. That's really how we grow and we learn. And actually, something that I'm super passionate about is letting women know that success is an inside job, and that is a combination of health, a combination of fitness, a combination of meditation, gratitude, prayer, taking time out. I have a go-to army of resources that have been so important in my Wild journey. And I have Reiki masters, healers, therapists, coaches, and also mentors, because how else are you going to find the answers and the solutions? How else are you going to build out your dreams and your vision? And so much so that I've actually become a coach myself, and I work with women in 2 capacities: one on transformation and confidence, and to rise as powerful leaders in the quest of gender equality. But out of all the work I do, what really ignites my passion and makes my heart sing is mentoring women to build out social impact projects that are going to make a difference. Generally women who build out women's networks with their own dynamic flair that are completely customized. My bigger vision is to have women all over the world with their own bespoke women's networks. I'm going to be really, really honest with you. I absolutely hate the gym more than anything else in the world. I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. But I understand the importance of working out and of really nurturing self. So I have a personal trainer, mainly for the accountability and to make sure I go. I eat right. I mean, look, I have 95% I eat right. I, have a really balanced diet. I love walks in nature. So, working out and fitness, as I said, health has to be our number 1 priority. So as much as I hate the gym, I do go 3 times a week. I think being an advocate for gender equality, and also I'm not a newcomer to the space. So I launched Wild in 2018. I've since done an INSEAD qualification, which was actually really difficult in gender equality. But my core and what I genuinely care about is making a difference. When we look at gender equality, the UN has said it's going to take 286 years for men and women to achieve equity and have fair and equal opportunity. That means that we won't see gender equality in our lifetime. And, that makes me feel really, really sad. but we can be role models. We can pave the way for future generations. So, I really genuinely care about making a difference, particularly for young women, particularly for young girls, to have the same rights, opportunities, and a fair and equal world, and to not endure the awful things that I went through. And I've made that my life's mission and purpose. So it's about fair and equal opportunities for women, and that means across the board. So, when we look at the entrepreneurial landscape, we know that women are still not securing funding as much as men. I work predominantly in the corporate space, and I'm really passionate about attracting and retaining female talent. So when we look at, the Great Resignation and the huge topical issue of the war on talent, what can companies do to ensure that they are attracting the best female talent to the business, so that businesses can leverage and benefit from building diverse teams? We know that when we achieve gender equity on boards, it leads to 26% more profitability, competitive advantage, increased productivity and innovation. So it's about how do companies make sure, and this is something which is a big bugbear for me, that we don't just celebrate women on Women's Day, that we don't just throw up flimsy PR stunts to be seen to do the right thing. Let's be the change that we really, really wish to see, because half of the companies, FTSE companies that talk a good game about gender equity, when you scratch the surface, they are not gender equal at all. I hear so much, particularly in this region, about toxic workplace cultures, not only women, but men being, bullied, belittled, left out, made to feel not good enough. And when we look at DEI, diversity, equality and inclusion, we can build diverse teams, because ultimately Dubai is a melting pot of all different race, ethnicity and religion. But it's about the inclusion. How do we include? How do we build psychological safety so that women can show up and be their whole selves, be seen, heard and understood in the workplace? When I was working in corporate, I was often one of 22 all guys, and it's like sometimes you feel, what's the point? If I speak up in this meeting, I get shot down, my ideas are discredited, and sometimes the men sort of pinch the ideas and run with it on themselves. So how do we foster inclusion and also retaining female talent? This is such a key problem. We have a lack of female role models when it comes to leadership. So the younger females that come up through the ranks, and let's take law firms as an example, there's so many men at partner level, but not so many at the female partnership level. The younger females tend to drop off before they get to that leadership level, and they don't have those role models. So it's about attracting and retaining talent. It's about fostering inclusive environments for women to show up and be seen and heard. And that way we're going to contribute and leverage that diverse thinking. Is the most important thing, and without it we have nothing. And I'm actually getting a bit emotional, because when I got to 40 in the middle of COVID, I actually had pancreatitis and nearly died, and I spent several weeks in hospital, nil by mouth. It was COVID, so no one could come and see me. And everyone says health is the most important thing, but unless we've had it taken away from us, we don't understand the sheer importance of it. I actually battle with Crohn's disease. It's something else which is an ongoing journey for me, having been on all sorts of different medication, mood altering medication that made all my hair fall out. So, health is the most important thing. And since I do all of the strategy and vision for Wild, we recently launched our membership, Wild Women Collective, which is a unique community for women to come together. And I made wellness as the underlying principle of Wild Women Collective. So Wild Women Collective is made up of wellness, self-leadership, leadership and power skills. So without health we have nothing. You know, I take it very seriously. I'm an advocate for balance. You know, I have so many female clients that I work with who are on the edge of burnout, that masculine energy, which is so outdated, of push, hustle, strive, control. And, you know, there is a better way, a more empowering, inspiring way of doing things. And that is feminine flow, and that is nurturing self, and that is, you know, doing anything and everything that makes us feel good. And my advice where this is concerned is to make ourselves a number one priority. I do everything I can to make me feel good so that I can serve my community, so that I can serve my clients, so that I can show up and be the best version of myself. I spend 2 hours a day on my habits and rituals, which is a combination of an inspiring podcast, you know, meditation, gratitude, fitness, and I do that every single day. And when people say, how have you got Wild to the level that it is, which is, it's taking off in humongous ways now, and it is self-funded, you know, because it all starts with us, and our outer world is a reflection of our inner world. So I dedicate and I allocate time to fill me up. Now I work for 3 months where I am really busy, you know, flying in and out of Saudi a lot at the moment, but I then take 3 weeks out for me and go. I was in Bali for 3 weeks. I did loads of yoga, eating well, exploring, being in nature. So I am an advocate for health and well-being. It's important to also say that last March, I actually suffered with burnout, and that is a very, very serious condition which creeps up, you don't realise, and I actually fell off a stage in tears doing a keynote talk with complete, utter exhaustion. And there was a male mentor, friend of mine, who sort of picked me up and said, you know, are you okay? And of course, our natural response is, you know, yes, I'm fine. And I really was not okay. And it lasted for 3 to 4 months. I was apathetic, I was disconnected, you know, and I took myself away and stumbled across an article on burnout. And it's serious. It is, you know, it is a state of depression. And I realised that I just had neglected me in my pursuit of being quite a new entrepreneur, having left the corporate space, you know, only 2 years ago. And I learnt the hard way. And it's very difficult to come back from burnout. So health, well-being is very high up on my agenda, and also advocating for women to understand the relevance and the fact of making ourselves a priority is fundamental. When we look at building a sustainable world, the UN has released 17 Sustainable Development Goals. SDG 5 is actually gender equality, and I see lots of companies in discussions about sustainable futures and actually even panel talks without women. When are we going to realise that to create a sustainable future where we can all thrive, we need to achieve SDG 5, which is gender equity? So ladies, let's come together, Let's break down barriers, let's work together in collaboration and make health and fitness a #1 priority. I will be there with a group of women from Wild to support the Dubai Women's Run taking place in November. Do get involved. It's going to be absolutely full of inspiring women, all diverse women, young, old. It's going to be incredible. We can't wait to have you as a valuable part of the Dubai Women's Run. Have a great day. Stay wild.